Alrighty guys, welcome to week 1 GWDA 243 object-oriented scripting. Here we go. I'm not going to go much into the syllabus or anything just because, you can do that on your own time, but here it is. As for tutoring, it'll be posted here when I'm going to be available, and same with the tutor information. I'll put that in there when I get it. The main things I want to say about the syllabus is late work, don't accept it. So since this is an independent study course, everything will be due probably on Monday, right? That's when we'll just kind of consider that these courses start on Monday. But if you need, I don't know. To be honest, didn't really think this through very well. But I think Monday will be it, but if there are issues with that, you always can email me and let me know. Since this is an independent study, it's going to be ran as an online course. So we don't have any times that we're going to be meeting. It's all going to be online. Each week you'll have a video that you'll watch and then an assignment that'll have to do with the video. Okay. So anyways, but yeah, the main thing is just we're going to be doing JavaScript, and we're going to be doing JavaScript objects. We're going to be using JSON, JSON. That's what we're going to be using for the majority of it. The textbook is here. I don't think we're going to use that a whole lot. We might. I'm going to be pulling from all over. I got some Lynda stuff that I'm doing, YouTube stuff that I'm doing to kind of create these assignments for you. So anyways, we're going to be mainly with JSON. You're going to need to have the web server. All of you should have that set up by now, and I'll be using brackets for my text editor. But the main thing is late work. Not going to accept it, but of course, since this is an independent study online course, no, scratch the Monday thing. Let's just say end of the week. Okay, so this is week 1, so what I give you for an assignment this week won't be due until next Friday at midnight. Okay, so I think that makes the most sense with these independent studies is you'll get the assignment this Monday, okay, and it won't be due next Monday. It'll be due that Friday after next Monday. So if you're like, what the heck, class starts on Monday, right? So really this won't be due until the 20th. That's when I'm going to start grading things. Things will just be due by the end of the week. I think that makes the most sense. Okay, so be aware of that. Go through the syllabus if you have any questions. Yeah, sorry about the calendar. This is the first time I've taught this class, so I really don't have it set in stone. So all of this is to be determined. Sorry if that makes you sad. But it'll be fun, and I'm excited. I'm going to be learning a lot of stuff with you guys. So first of all, I just want to show you this. This is kind of taken from this Lynda course that I've been going through, but we're going to talk about JSON, JSON. It's JavaScript Object Notation. If you are familiar to XML at all, it's kind of an alternative to XML, and it's better because it's more lightweight. It's parsed quicker, and it's kind of slowly taken over XML. And if you don't know what XML is, it's okay, not a huge deal. I can show you an example really quick. This is XML. So you can basically create your own tags in XML. So you got note, you close the note tag, you got to, who it's from, the heading, and the body. So this is basically you're creating your own little object is what we're going to be calling these. So we have this note object that contains different values. So inside of this note object we have a to value, we have a from value, we have a heading value, and a body value. The to value is Tove. I guess that's how you say that. The from value is Johnny, Yanni, whatever, heading, reminder, and the body is don't forget me this weekend. So it's going to be very similar to this, but the thing about JSON is it's kind of JavaScript. It's kind of based off of JavaScript. And so I don't know if XML will ever go away, but I know JSON is kind of becoming the replacement for it, mainly because it's supported by like almost every language. PHP can use it, JavaScript can use it, Ruby uses it. It's just kind of this universal way to create data and then share it, and so you can access it. Okay, so like it says here, it's a format for sharing data. Okay, it's language independent. Like I said, it can be used by all these different types of languages. Okay, the advantage is it's easy to read, right? When you create an object, you have these things called key value pairs. The things on the left are keys, so name is a key, position is a key, courses is a key, and everything on the right are values. So the value of this name key is Rave, and this is the dude who did the Linda course. Okay, the key position, the value of that position is staff author. And we'll write this and we'll go over this a little bit more. The advantage is easy to parse. Okay, it's quicker. It's not as bloated as XML. Okay, the way you parse it is using JSON.parse. We'll get into that later in the course, though. Leaner than XML. We already talked about that. So yeah, this is an example of XML. It's smaller, right? It's less text, so therefore it's a smaller file size, which is good. Okay, growing support. We've kind of already talked about that. The format is they're wrapped in double quotes. You can't use single quotes with these, so make sure you're using double quotes. You have the key, and then you have the value. The JSON values, they have to be either a string, a number, an object, an array, a boolean, or null. Okay, strings are just characters. Numbers, just that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so forth. You can have objects inside, which you'll see. Arrays are just, I call them arrays. To me are kind of like little mini databases. They hold a bunch of information. Boolean is either true or false, and null is just kind of an empty data type. So you can create JavaScript objects. I don't know how much we're going to focus on that in the course. Probably not a whole lot, but JavaScript objects can have a function as a value. So instead of having a string, a number, an object, or whatever here, you could actually call a function, but that's in a JavaScript object. And if you don't know what I'm talking about there, don't worry about it too much, because I don't really think we're going to be using that very much. But basically, JSON, like it says here, has to be fed into a variable as a string. So JavaScript kind of looks at this and considers it a string, and then it gets fed into a JavaScript variable, and it has to be parsed. And if all this stuff doesn't make sense, don't worry, we'll be doing some examples here. Okay, so this is what you would have is you'd set up a variable called info, and then you would set up a bunch of keys and a bunch of values, and then you can go in there and access them later. Now, one thing to pay attention to is if you use a number, a true or false value, or null, there's no quote. There's no double quote. So be aware of that, and you are going to have to do that for the assignment. Okay, and then we'll talk about how to retrieve these. Yeah, I mean, this is an array in here, so you got this key of courses, and then you have multiple values for that one key. That's how you do the array. And, that's okay. And then this is how you can create objects inside of an object, right? So you have this key of links, and then you're creating another object inside of that object. So you have the object of info with all these key value pairs, and then you have basically an object of links with a bunch of key value pairs. So you can have objects embedded inside of objects, and that'll be part of the assignment as well. Okay, but anyways, that's really it for now. These are some helpful things you can take a look at. This will help you validate your JavaScript. You're going to be using this to validate your JSON when you write it. And this is an editor online. I'm really not going to use that. And then I'm going to show you how to play around with the JSON a little bit inside the browser. Okay, so to get started, we're going to open up brackets. Yeah, I don't care about that. Go away. Okay, and just because I'm feeling a little lazy, I'm going to go grab W3's doc type here, just so that I don't have to type it all out. Now remember, only do that if you are familiar with this code and you understand it. Let's see. So I'll go out to my desktop, which I cleaned, which looks a little bit better, right, guys? Let's call this, I'll just call it JSON. Or you can call it week 1 or whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to save that out here. I'll call this week1.html, and I'll save that out to that folder, JSON. Okay, so I'm going to call this JSON key value pairs because that's basically what we're going to be doing. And then I'll get rid of this for the body. So what I'm going to do is just show you JSON syntax, how to validate it, and then how, once you've set up a JSON object, how you can get in there and start accessing the things inside of it. Okay, so to start out, I'm just going to create some divs, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to use JavaScript to fill these divs with the information from the JSON object. So I'm going to give this an ID of L, and you'll see why in a minute. Okay, so right now I'm just going to be using these divs as containers that are going to be filled with information in a minute. I'll give this an ID of M. And again, if you're like, what the heck, all will become clear as mud here pretty soon. No, let's do D on that one. Okay, so that should be obvious enough, right? We just have some divs that we're going to use to populate information into. Okay, now I'm going to set up a script tag because JSON is going to be inside this JavaScript block of text. Okay, so I'm going to set up a variable that's going to hold the JSON object. Okay, now actually before we do this, I'm going to hop over to the course. Let's go to learning path. Well, we were already there. Head over to week 1, and we got to take a look. Okay, the video will be posted here inside of week 1, but you already know that because you're watching it. But here's the assignment. You're going to have to create 5 JSON objects in one HTML file. Okay, each object needs to have at least 5 key value pairs. Okay, this is just so you can be thinking about this as we're going through the assignment. And then at the end, we'll go back to this to kind of let you we'll review exactly what the assignment wants. Each object needs to have an array of information with at least 3 items in that array. Okay, it doesn't count towards the 5 key value pairs. So you're really going to have 6 different things in each object. Okay, at least 2 of the 5 arrays need to have key value pairs in it, not just values. And actually, I should put this like in parentheses. Okay, that's kind of what we just talked about a few minutes ago. So basically, that's how you're going to have the object embedded inside the object. Okay, you need to have at least 1 string, boolean, or number type in all of the objects. Okay, and then this HTML page that you're creating needs to pull at least 2 values from each object and write it to the page using inner HTML. Okay, and then the page needs to have at least 1 value from each object's array written to the page using inner HTML. Okay, and then before you post it, make sure you validate it at jasonlent.com just to make sure you don't have any problems with the code. Okay, if it's not written correctly, you won't get credit for the assignment. Okay, when you're done, upload the HTML file to your web host and post the link here. If you don't remember how to do that, you just go to week 1, click here on the discussion topic, and there is nothing there. So I'm going to go gotta love this. Okay, so I just made it. So you'll come here, and then down here it'll say key value pair. You'll click on this, and then reply to the thread, and then put your link there. So because I got a little convoluted, let's go there again. Go to week 1, boom, go to JSON key value pairs, click on it. Come down here, click on key value pair, and then reply to the thread. Put your link here, not per your link, put your link here. So it's going to be your domain / whatever the HTML page is or whatever folder you have it in, and hit post. If you've been in any of my courses, you'll already know how to do that because you do it in all my courses. Okay, so let's head back. So I'm going to set up a variable and this is going to be my first object. And remember, for the assignment, you got to do 5 of these. I'm only going to show you how to do 1. You'll do the rest on your own time. I'm going to call it turtles. I'm going to set it equal to curly brackets because the object, the JSON object, is going to be inside of these curly brackets. Now, JSON ignores white space, so I could do this all in one line if I wanted to, but I want to make this easily readable. All right, so the first key I'm going to set up is Leo, right? Leo's awesome. And his value is going to be katanas. So I'm going to set up basically the weapon of each turtle. Okay, so Leo does katanas. Mikey does nunchucks. Okay, now each key value pair you can see is being separated by a comma. Now if I wanted to, I could do it like this, right? Just makes it a little harder to read. Also, what I've seen a lot of people do with JSON is they'll keep the colons here aligned vertically. I don't really think I'm going to go that crazy. I'm okay with it looking like that, but it's really up to you. Okay, then we got Donatello. He uses the bow staff. Okay, and then we have Raph. He uses the size. Okay, now if I wanted to be done, I could be. Could just kind of save this. All right, now I want to show you how you can kind of access this in the browser. So I'm going to run this. Okay, we don't get anything here. Actually, the first thing that I'll want to do is validate this and see if it works. So when you're validating it, it's just validating the JSON. It's not validating any JavaScript. So you can't take the whole thing and just throw it in there and hope that it validates. You have to just take everything that's in between the curly brackets and do not grab the semicolon. So I'm going to copy that, go back, and here it is, jsonlint.com, and I'm going to paste it in there. So you'll have the curly bracket, all your JSON information, and then your closing curly bracket. Even if you have the semicolon, that'll bust it up. So I put it in there, come down here. All right, valid JSON. Now if I add like the semicolon there, it's going to yell at me. It'll say there's an issue on line 6. So I'll be able to come in here and get an idea of what's going on. So really what you'll want is once you put it in there and you hit validate, you want it to say valid JSON. Okay, and mine is. Common mistakes is, not closing the quotes, forgetting the colon here, forgetting the commas, and remembering that the last item does not have a comma after it. Okay. So we know it's valid. That's awesome. Now we can come here. I'm going to hit F12, or you can do inspect. I'm going to come to the console. So in the console, you can play around with the JSON objects. So I saved the JSON object inside of turtles. So if I type in just turtles, it'll return to me basically everything inside of that object. So the first key is Leo, the first value is katanas, second key is Mikey, second value is nunchucks, and so forth. I can drop it down. It gives it to me in this order. As you can see, it puts it in a different order, which is interesting. I have Dawn third here, but it has it first here. That isn't really an issue until you start needing things in order. And if you need things to be in order, then you can put them in an array. Okay, but anyway, so now you can start playing. So I could say turtles.leo, hit enter, and it gives me katanas. So you access the things inside of this object using dot notation. Okay, so turtles.leo is using dot notation. So basically this is the variable that we stored this JSON object in. And then we go dot the key of the value that we want to access. So I can say Dawn, and it gives me bow staff. Now this isn't really doing anything, this isn't infecting the code, but this is just a way you can play around in the console to make sure that you can access things that you need to access. Okay, so we're good there. Now I want to set up an array. Okay, and I'm going to call this enemies. And inside of here, we're going to basically hold all the different enemies of the turtles. Okay, and you do this with a square bracket, not a curly. Okay, so these are square brackets right here. So I've set up a new key, and inside of this key, I'm going to store an array. So a bunch of information. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to store is Shredder, right? He's the most awesome turtle bad guy. Okay, we'll put a comma there. We have Rocksteady, comma, Krang, Bebop, I think that's how you spell it, the foot, and you can see you can have spaces and such inside of these values. There's others, Baxter, Stockman, and so forth. So I can put as many of these in here that I want. So now I have one key, but I have a ton of different values that are stored inside of this one key. And again, like we saw before, they're all separated with commas. So then that brings you to, okay, well, how the heck would I access those? Well, if we come back here, refresh, we can open up the console again. I could say, turtles, turtles, okay, that brings it back. I could say turtles.enemies, okay, and it will return everything in there. And it says there are 6 items, which there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I wanted to access an individual one, we do index location, okay? And the fun thing about JavaScript is it starts counting at 0. So turtles.enemy0 means show me the first value inside of there. So turtles.enemy0 would be Shredder. Okay. Turtles.enemies 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. So it should give us Bebop, and so forth. Okay. So that's how you do that. So enemies, and then you give the index location of the value that you want to pull. Okay. Now I'm going to keep going. So I got to throw a comma in here. Another thing, I just want to throw in another key value pair. I'll just say food. Pizza. And you can see, right, in brackets that the key is purple, the value is orange. So that'll help you to make sure you're doing it right. Okay, and now I want to throw an object inside of an object. All right, so I'll create another one called moves. This is the key. And inside of this object, there we go. Inside of this object, I'm going to create, inside of this object of turtles, okay, with all these key value pairs, I'm going to throw in another object. And I'm going to call this moves, basically. So inside of the square brackets, you're going to do curly brackets. So I could say, I don't know, give this a level of difficulty. So I could say a hard move for the turtles would be, I don't know, roundhouse. Okay, and then I throw in a comma, and then each key value pair that I'm going to throw inside of here is going to be inside curly brackets. So I could say this one's going to be medium, and it's going to be a backflip. Okay, and then we'll say an easy move for the turtles is going to be partying. Okay, I don't need a comma here because it's the last one, and I don't need a comma here because I'm not going to add any more inside the object. Okay, so that's how we have an object inside of an object. So we have this turtles object with all the key value pairs, right? Even here we have a key with a bunch of values inside of it, an array, right? But then we set up kind of another object here. It's like we're setting up another object called moves, and inside of this object we have a bunch of key value pairs. So it can kind of get as deep and crazy as you want. I haven't played with it. You could probably create another object here with a bunch of things inside, and you could probably just go as many levels deep as you wanted to. Okay, so if you've done any database work, this is kind of like databasing in a way. You're just setting up this object with a bunch of values and keys in it, and then you're able to access it. Now, you may be thinking, well, how do you use this in the real world, right? Well, to be honest, most places and websites, they kind of do this automatically. And these JSON objects are usually huge with hundreds of thousands of values and keys in there that you want to access. But it's just a way that you can share data, and it's language independent. So I could be using PHP, I could grab some JSON data, do whatever I wanted to, pass it over to a website that's using Ruby, they can grab it, do whatever they want with it. So it's just really cool. Okay, so now the last part is we want to, now that we've set up this object, this JSON object, we want to print some of this stuff to the page. Now that we've set up a bunch of information, we actually want to grab it and use it. So I'm going to throw it inside of these divs up here. Okay. So the way you can do that is I can say document.getElementById. Okay, and the element I'm going to grab is this div here with the ID of L. So I'm going to get the element by ID of L, and I'm going to change its inner HTML. All the inner HTML is the text in between the tags. So if I came up here and said hi, if I saved that and we came over here, we got hi on the page, right? The inner HTML of this div is hi. If I change it to hello, the inner HTML of this div with the ID of L is hello. So that's all I'm going to be doing. Using JavaScript, I'm going to be inserting text inside of the div, which then therefore will show up on the page. So right now these divs are just placeholders. And using JavaScript, I'm going to actually put text in between. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. So I'm basically saying the text in between of the div with the ID of L is going to be equal to something like, I can say, Leonardo uses space, and then I'm going to concatenate. Now I want to get katanas. Okay, if we remember what I was doing here inside of, oops, not this one, sorry, inside of here in the console, right? If I wanted to access something, I could say turtles. Oh, I think I may, oh yeah, I haven't finished this code, so it's freaking out. But if I wanted to access katanas, right, I would say turtles dot Leo. That's it. So now I can come over here, and it says, we can see that it worked. All right, so it's grabbing the div with the ID of L, and it's changing its inner HTML to Leonardo uses space, and then it adds onto that sentence whatever turtles.leo is. Well, if we come over here, we say, all right, turtles.leo is katanas. So it throws in katanas. Okay, so now I could say kind of the same thing. We'll do M, and this will be from Mikey. We can say Mikey fought, need a space there. We can see enemies. Now let's say we want him to fight Bebop. Now let's do Krang. So remember Shredder 0, 1, 2. So Krang is 2. So we can say enemies 2. And then we could even start saying more. So Mikey fought enemies. Oops, nope, that's going to be wrong. It's going to be turtles.enemies 2. Mikey fought, hopefully that'll throw in Krang, and gave him I don't know, you could say turtles dot food. Okay, so that should say Mikey fought Krang and gave him a pizza. Hopefully. And the cool thing is, oh, I forgot the plus there. So when you're using concatenation, all concatenation is doing is just taking something and adding it to something else, just adding it on. Not adding as in like math, but adding it, just sticking it together. So I got this string Mikey fought space, and then right after the space, I'm going to add whatever this is equal to, which is hopefully Krang. And then I'm going to add space and gave him a space, and then whatever turtle's food is equal to, which is hopefully pizza, right? So there we go. Mikey fought Krang and gave him a pizza. Now the reason why these are on different lines is because of the divs, right? The divs are block level elements. They take up their own line. All right, so I showed you how to access these. I showed you how to access this. These are really the same key value pairs as these. Showed you how to access this. So enemies, square bracket, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Okay, well, what about these? How do I access these objects inside of objects? We'll do that on the last one here. So we got D here, so this will be Donatello. Sentence about him. We'll say Donatello used, concatenate that, turtles. So now think about this a little bit. How do you think you would access this? So turtles.moves, obviously. So dot moves. Okay, now we would think, right, that we would just do something like that if we would want to access backflip. But the problem is there's an object inside of an object. So we got turtles.moves. Well, that isn't going to work because over here it would work if we just had a bunch of values. But we now have more keys and values. So we just kind of have to do what we would think here, right? So we just have to keep going further inside. So turtles.moves dot, oh, no, sorry. We have to tell it where inside this array, right? So turtles.moves, and then we have to say which one it is. Okay, so I would say Donatello used a roundhouse. We'll do roundhouse. So it's the first one in there. Okay, and then now that it's accessed this first one, this first key value pair, we have to tell it what key it is. So it's going to be hard. So Donatello used a roundhouse kick to the face to defeat let's have him defeat Shredder, even though it would take way more than that, right? Enemies 0. And it was awesome. All right, so inside of the ID of D, the inner HTML, we're going to say Donatello used a. Okay, it goes to turtles, then it goes to moves, then it tells us which one inside of moves we're going to be using, which is the first one, hard, and then we have to give the key, hard, to kick. So roundhouse, hopefully, kick to the face to defeat turtles.enemies 0, enemies 0, and it was awesome. So we'll save that, see if it worked. Booyah. Donatello used a roundhouse kick to the face to defeat Shredder, and it was awesome. Okay? So that is it for this week, guys. You can create all any type of story that you want, really, but what I want you to be doing is pulling information in 3 different ways, right? I want you to pull it with just a normal key value pair. I want you to pull it inside of an array, and I also want you to pull it with a object inside of an object. Okay, and then use inner HTML to print it out to the page. So, oh, and then also what I would want to do here is come here and grab my JSON. We want to validate it. So I'm going to grab everything basically, starting with the first curly bracket and ending with that last curly bracket. That's what I want to grab. So I'm going to copy that, come over here, throw it in, hit validate. Happy days. It's valid. Yay. Okay. So you'll need to do 5 of these. Okay. This is one object. Okay. You'll need to do 5 of these. Personally, I don't care if you do all 5 on one page, or you can do like 2 or 3 on one. I don't really care. Or you can do one object on each page, and then you turn in 5 pages. It doesn't really matter to me. All I care is that I want you to practice using JSON notation so you can understand it and get it really solid in your brain. So when we move forward and actually start doing more things with it, this hopefully will become second nature. Typing it out. All right, so let's hop back. This should make a little bit more sense now. Okay, so 5 JSON objects, right? So this whole thing right here is one object. So you're going to do 5 of those in one HTML file. Like I said, it doesn't really matter. You can do, let me change that. So I can do 1 or more HTML file. Okay, so each object needs to have at least 5 key value pairs. What I mean by that is this would be 1, this is 2, this is 3, 4, and so forth. So it needs to have at least 5 of these. Okay, each object needs to have array information, at least 3 items in the array. Okay, so after you've done the 5 key value pairs, you need to have an array. This is the array with at least 3 values in it. Okay, so I had 6, but you would need to have an array here that had at least 3 items in it. Okay, and that doesn't count as one of your key value pairs. So you would have 5 of these and then 1 more of these. Okay, at least 2 of the 5 arrays need to have key value pairs in it, not just values. So in other words, an object inside of an object. So in other words, out of the 5 arrays that you do, at least 2 out of those 5 need to look like this. Okay, so you could have 3 arrays looking like this and 3 of your objects, and then you could have, 2 of these that look like that. Okay, at least 2. If you wanted to do 1 array and 1 of your objects that looks like that and do the rest like that, that's fine. I just want you to have experience using both methods. Okay. All right. I didn't really do this, but you need to have at least 1 string, Boolean, or number type value. In other words, here you could have, like if you were using a number, you would have 1 there, or you'd have true, or false. Okay, remember these aren't in quotes. So it could be like, I don't know, I could come in here and add some more, hit a comma there, and I could say, I don't know, number. So it'd be kind of like the number of turtles, and it would be 4. And whenever you add stuff, I would always come back, well, not always, but you want to make sure it's valid, right? So I can come on in here, copy that, come back here, throw it in, hit validate, and we're good. But I could say, yeah, like throw in another key, so a number, and there's, 4 turtles. Or, are you awesome or not? It could be true, or it could be false. Okay, so make sure you got true, false, and numbers in there. Okay, so, and then okay, so then the page needs to have at least 2 values from each object written on there. Okay, so I did 3, right? Well, actually, I did a bunch. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, but you need to have at least 2 values from each object thrown on there. Okay, so you'll have about 10 values on there with all of the objects. Okay, and then you need to have at least 1 value from each object's array. So like I did here, or like I did here. Okay, so you got to pull values from here, and you got to pull values from here. At least 1 from each array on each object. So you'll have 5 of those. Okay, and then of course, make sure you're validating your JSON to make sure it's right. Okay, then when you're done, post your HTML files here. Get them up on your web host, and then post the link to each HTML file. If you do them all on one HTML file, great. Post that, I'll take a look at it. If you do more than one, that's fine. Just make sure that you have the links to all of them here. All right, that's it, guys. I hope it helped. We'll do more next week, but yeah, this is due. Yeah, basically won't be due till the 20th. Okay, and then the assignment that I put on the 15th, that won't be due till the 27th, and so forth. Okay, so end of the week. I'll give you the assignment at the beginning of the week. Well, yeah, sorry to waste your time with me humming and hawing here, but it's just kind of, it seems to make the most sense that I give it to you now, then you have the whole week, then the end of the week. Yeah, that makes the most sense to me. And I know I've said that 1,000 times, but yeah, the assignment that you're getting today, which is like the 8th when we start, it won't be due till like, the 21st, basically. Okay, then you'll get an assignment on the 15th. Guys, I'm crazy. I don't know what else. I don't know what I'm thinking. But here's what I think we'll do. And I'll post this. So it's, because I know in this video it was pretty confusing. So you're going to get it on the 8th. Okay, this will be due. I'm going to, try to have all these posted on the 15th. Giving you until that's just kind of weird, because then you're going to have another assignment here and they're going to get mixed up. So I'd rather keep you guys on keep you on schedule, right? I don't want you getting behind. So yeah, you're getting this on the 8th. Okay, it'll be due on the 15th. Then we'll do the next assignment. It'll be due on the 22nd, and so forth. If I ever release any of these videos late, like maybe I release a video on the 17th, okay, well then you'll have till the 24th. But whenever I release it, you'll have at least a week. But I'll post these in the assignment, so if you're ever not sure when it's due, it'll be there. So I'm gonna come down here and let's go. Let's see. Due next Monday. Well, due a week from when this was posted. Next Monday. Okay, and if you're starting to get behind and you need help or whatever, just let me know. We can figure things out. It's going to be a little harder to be really strict on the due dates on these independent studies, but I'm still going to be. So just know, these will be due a week from when I post these videos, and I'm going to try my hardest to get them posted on Monday, and if possible, before. But if I, in this case where I'm posting it today on the 6th, if I posted a video, say, on the 12th, and the assignment was for the 15th, it would still be due on the 22nd, so you'd have those extra days. So if anything, it'll always be due. I'll never give you less time than a week, is all I'm trying to say. Okay. Anyway, so due 15th, due in a week. And if this is used for another course, just know that this is due a week from when it started. So sorry to ramble on. Sorry to waste your time. Have fun, guys. If you have any questions, let me know. See ya.